Hey, what's up, y'all? It's your boy Melanated Mastery here with another book review video. Road to reading 1,000 books. The ambition is real. um, so today I have a book, very great book, the Kybalion. It's a book about the Hermetic philosophy by the three initiates, which I believe the three initiates were Masons, Freemasons. Um, but Hermetic philosophy is basically philosophy, which philosophy just means the fundamental nature of understanding, or basically how you learn something. So the fundamental nature of learning is what philosophy is. And Hermeticism is the teachings of Thoth or Hermes. He was named Hermes in Greece, and he was known as Thoth in Egypt or Kemet. Um, he's written a lot of wise uh, books and information. To me personally, I think he's probably, from my research, one of the most intelligent, beings to walk the earth, as far as what I've read. So, without further ado, let's get into what the Kybalion actually talks about. So, the Kybalion, this is a very, very good summary, a very great summary of the Hermetic philosophy, the universal laws of nature and the laws of the universe, right? Universal laws. So it talks about seven principles like the first one being, the principle of mentalism, how all is mind and the mind is all. So the universe is your mind and your mind is the universe. Everything inside your mind is basically a projection of everything that's outside of your mind, and vice versa. It's a lot of deep points that you just kind of think about when you read the book, right? Like, at least I know for me, when I was reading the book, I had to stop and think. Like, I don't want to say it went over my head, but it was so deep in essence that it was like, man, this is like very true, and it's very, it has multi meanings, very allegorical. But yeah, that's basically the first principle of the Kybalion. The all is mind and the mind is all. Everything starts from in here. If you want to do anything, you have to first start in here, because thought is supreme over everything that exists here, right? Uh, anytime you want to do something, you want to achieve something, you want to be efficient at something, you want to just, ball out on something, always see it in here first. Like, that's one thing that I do all the time. And I would encourage other people to do that's aspiring to reach their goals. Anytime, like I say, anytime I'm reading a book or uh, I want to do something, I just meditate and I focus on, and I imagine myself picture, or, I just see myself doing it and understanding it. If I want to read a book, I just see myself flipping through the book, understanding it, gaining information from it. That's what I do when I read books or anything, that I want to do. Um, Another law is the law of correspondence. As above, so below, and so below as above, which is a concept that is very, very true. For lack of I won't say for lack of a better word, but for lack of better terms to describe it. When you think about it, everything that happens on a smaller scale is happening on a bigger scale as well. Or to be able to understand things on a bigger scale, you can understand things on a smaller scale, right? So what would an example of that be like? Um, an example of understanding things like that would be, well, let's say if I believe something that another person doesn't believe, right? We're just two people. Well, me understanding why I believe what I believe and why he doesn't, can help me understand the same way on the bigger scale, right? Of how one society can believe something that another society doesn't, right? So just by me bringing it down to a small scale between two people, if I really want to, I can understand how it works on a bigger scale, right? Because if me and another person have a conflict and I understand the root of that conflict, then I can understand the root of the conflicts between two societies or two organizations or two different groups of people. It all starts on a smaller level before it gets to a bigger level, and vice versa. If I want to understand things on the smaller level, right, so below as above, or as above so below, right, if I want to understand things on a smaller level from a bigger perspective, well, I just look at things on a bigger perspective to understand a smaller perspective of it, right? It may seem a little confusing, but once you read the Kybalion, you'll start to have a better mental picture of it. I might not be doing the best at describing it, but because honestly, I'm still understanding these laws, because it's just amazing to just read it and just feel that a lot of it is very, very true and just soothes with you. But yeah, that's the law of correspondence. As above, so below as above. One of the last laws that the Kybalion talks about, well, the last law or principle it talks about is the principle of gender, right? How um, everything has masculine and feminine properties. Notice that I say everything has masculine and feminine properties, not just one thing is feminine and one thing is uh, masculine, right? Because separation is really an illusion. Um, Everything has masculine and feminine properties. Uh, like, let's just take, for example, me, right? My masculine properties might be like, I like to go to the gym. I like to work out and try to get big muscles, or I try to get stronger. That's all considered masculine, or try to assert force, right? Well, on the feminine side, right, what can be considered feminine properties of me could be, I want to, learn something. I want to learn how to impact people in a better way, or I want to learn how to impact people that's going to make them better. That can be considered a feminine property, because it's more of how can I say it? It's more of having people receive something from you, right? It's kind of I know it's kind of confusing, but that can be considered more of a feminine property, right? Me wanting to learn how to help people. Me, or what other people would say is weaknesses or whatever, depending on how you look at it, right? But that can be considered feminine properties of me, right? Wanting to help people, wanting to spread knowledge, or I shouldn't say necessarily spread knowledge, but to spread interest in people so that they would want to get knowledge, right? Because it's not necessarily that you want to give people all of what you've researched, right? You want to give people what you've researched, but in a way that encourages them to go and research and read and learn the same way that you did. It's not necessarily that you want a person to listen to everything that you've studied or accomplished. In a sense, that's not what it's about. It's about saying that particular. It's about saying in the way of what you studied that's going to encourage them to do the same. That's the goal. At least that's what should be the goal in any of this, is uh, understanding that the law, the universal law of Kybalion, everything has feminine and masculine properties, no matter what it is, right? Um, let's see, another law, the law of polarity, all right? Or the principle, I should say, of polarity, because that's how it's mentioned in this book. Even though they are also known as universal laws in this book, they're called principles, right? Fancy word. But the principle of polarity, right? It basically talks about how everything has a dual. And another thing too is when you read this book and you read the principles of the universe, you start to see how a lot of them are connected but separate at the same time. And it also says in this book how the all, which can be perceived in religions as the creator or God or the essence or whatever term that is described by. And here it's called the all. It says how the all has made these laws for creation, but it isn't subject to them. And it also explains how that the only way that the all can know itself or can know its full potential and creativity is for us to collect that for the all, right? Because the all can't know itself without us, and it's beautiful when you read it and you think about it that the all can't know itself without us, the different aspects of it, being the different aspects, being people, us, and everything really, books, everything is living in essence when you think about it, because everything is a part of the creation. These books came from paper came from trees are living, but the same atoms that are making the trees actual matter essence up, right, physical structure up, are the same atoms that make up everything, that make up books, that make up desk, computers, everything. So everything is the all, or what you could call everything is God. Everything is the creator in essence, right? Because if you know a little bit about atoms, you know that atoms make conscious decisions, right? And we know that through things like the double slit experiment. Atoms choose the best path to take, or electrons choose the best path to take, right? The electrons, sometimes they go off on their own to find another proton, right? And that's a way to describe the law of polarity too, or the principle of polarity. Everything has a dual. That electron would always try to find that proton, right? Because it understands that law, and it is subject to that law. It has to find this dual counterpart. It can be described in other cultures as yin and yang. It's the same as yin and yang. There would be no yin without the yang. There would be no yang without the yin. So that's the principle of duality, or the principle of polarity. Everything has a dual, right? I would definitely encourage you to read this book. I could stay here and cite off information from this book for days. There's a law in this book called the law of I want to say the law of conservation, right? Where I believe it talks about how I just lost my train of thought. But there's a law in this book called the law of conservation. Right now, I can't really think about what the law is talking about. It'll come to me later. But there's a lot of good wisdom in this book. I definitely encourage, people that are interested in wisdom, and even if you aren't, necessarily interested in wisdom, and you just want to read about Hermetic philosophy. A lot of people are interested in philosophy and understanding different people's ways of learning and ways of thinking, right? This is definitely a great book. I mean, I know I say this a lot, but I'll definitely be reading this book again. Oh, this is a very great book. It's not that big either, It's 150? It's about 140 pages max. There's a lot of pictures in this book, in this particular one. But you don't have to necessarily get just this one. I think they have bigger ones, smaller ones, But I definitely recommend reading the Kybalion if you're interested in this type of stuff. And that's all from me. It's your boy Melanin Mastery with another book review. And y'all have a great day, a great productive day, and go out there, learn something, you know, uh, do something you enjoy, and just have a great day. It's your boy Melanin Mastery. And I'll see y'all next time for another book review.